Hey Renata, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I want to kind of start off with first just finding a little bit more about yourself, like how up until now, how did you get to BigCloud, and what were you doing before that? I guess.
I was doing whatever I'm doing now. I'm a venture capitalist, and nothing has changed. I initially heard about BitCloud from one of the early investors who is my fellow VC. And it took me a week, though, to join because I was busy at the time raising a new fund. So I joined like a week later than, the first OGs joined. So um, yeah, and like after I played some time with Big Cloud, I just thought that it's a great idea overall. And as a social media, also I liked it because I grew up on Twitter. So for me, this format of 140 and now 280 symbols, characters, this is something that I like. Because I'm used to saying that I kind of practiced a lot on Twitter to express my thoughts in a clear manner, with a limited character count. And I think that's great for all people who want to, to develop their public speaking skills or writing skills. So I appreciate that format a lot. So, at some point I was, after a week, I think, after I have played with it, I was like, well, that's fine. So I'm just moving all my social media on BigCloud. And here I am.
Transition happened. Love that. The person who told you about the fellow VC, was he an investor or like how in BigCloud, or how did that came about?
Yeah, so he's one of the early investors and testers of the
Got it.
platform. So we have known each other for a decade right now. So I kind of like. I was actually very active at that particular point on Clubhouse. So it happened at the same time that he told me about that, and I heard about that from Clubhouse. So it's all aligned.
I love that, and I like how you were like, you've been using the platform as a creator, which is amazing. So you didn't come with. I don't think you'll use it as a VC. So I think it's interesting to find out like what are your thoughts on using it as a VC and using it as a creator.
No, actually, I started playing with the platform from both perspectives, right? Because,
Okay.
well, I'm a writer, I published two books. So, as a creator, it was natural for me to use this platform as a creator. But also, it was as natural for me to use it as an investor. And, from the very beginning, it looked very much like early stage investing, like seed stage investing, when you see people who are, potential investment opportunities and you don't know them, so you have to do your due diligence. You have to talk to them before you invest. So the process was very, very much alike. And I even posted about that whoever wants to break into venture capital, big cloud is a great way to practice your skills, of finding diamonds in the sand. At the very early stage when there are no guarantees and you don't know these people, these potential investment opportunities, so you actually have to do your homework. So it was very, very much like that. But I started investing myself, and what I realized is that if you want to play this game as a funder, let's just don't use the word investor, in this context, right? So if you want to use it as a funder, and that would be your main strategy, I would say, right? So it requires a lot of attention, same as daily trading does, and that's
Yep.
precisely why I never could get into that game on stock, with stocks, with stock market, because it's a full-time job. You have to wake up,
Yep.
watching the news, and you have to go to bed watching the news to predict how the stock will behave tomorrow. So it's just really like you really need to have time and dedicate a lot of time, at least half of your daytime, to actually be successful when you play on the stock market. And the same with BitCloud. You have to watch people, you have to make sure that they are active, and you have to, feel that moment when they stop being active. And then you have, two options: whether this person will come back and, their coin will skyrocket, or this person will never come back and you're losing like all your, your holdings, because that's it. So this person just didn't like the platform. So this is not an attractive investment opportunity, right? And that happened
Hmm.
to me a couple of times. So that's when I realized, I was like, okay, well, I don't have time to watch, my holdings during the day. So I just cannot do that efficiently. And I was like, all right, that's it. So I'm taking off my, founder hat, and I'm just staying as a creator because I'm comfortable in that role. I have enough venture in my life, offline. I, sign the checks all the time, so that's gonna be it. So yeah, it was just like a conscious decision, and I again, I would like to summarize. So, on the one hand, it looks very much like early stage investing, and on the other hand, it also feels very much like playing with the stock market. So, for people who can do that, that's great. So, I just can't.
I love how you said that as someone who's like, trying to like play, I guess if they're like starting out in a VC world, or even like someone who's learning about the investing part. It's such an interesting one. You're right. It's like, because it's so new and you don't know what's happening, and it's a great way to test and like kind of come up with hypotheses and see what works, and you trade on it. Like you were saying before, like like obviously activity would be one, like probably other things like how much, what are they building, like what have they done in the past, like all those small things that are there. You can start like building how you think about investing in someone, or it could become like a, yeah, I can totally see what you mean. Like it's crazy to think like that. That's a pretty amazing way to put it. um is that and kind of like because I read your the 10 principles of the 10 principles of BitClout playbook, and kind of inspired by the Burning Man. It was supposed to be my first time going to Burning Man last year, but then COVID happened and that didn't happen. I went through Y Combinator, and a lot of my YC alumni, they just speak so highly of it, and everyone I've talked to never had one bad word about it, and it just like it really intrigues me to go there. I and I think so. What a question I want to ask you was, like with Burning Man, like you are going there for or 9, 10 days, whatever, right? So it's like you're going in that world and you're going with that mindset. It's also a very small group of people. It's like you going in this community, so you kind of adhering by the rules, right? But in the big cloud world, like right now we're a small community. How do you think this evolves with the rules aspect of it as like more and more people come, and it's not like a one, like like a finitude. It's not like a one-time thing. It's like you're there all the time. You know what I mean? So how do you think people with the rules kind of evolve that way? Do you think they still follow the rules, or how do you think that will?
Look, it's just a traditional way of managing the crowd, right? Managing big group of people, and the larger the community, the more difficult it is to manage the community, and so that keep everyone complying with the rules. Um, Truth be told, there are 10 principles of Burning Man, which are considered to be rules, but there are many people who do not comply with these rules either. So, it's not perfect in a way. And, I don't know any system which would be perfect from this perspective. So, it's fair to say that BigCloud will never be perfect either. And I think that the best solution probably to that is the nodes that were introduced, right? Because people like you and me, we choose what we like to do. We choose the set of rules that we are happy to comply. We think that they are similar to our values, right? So, and we just stick to the nodes that that we find comfortable for ourselves, right? And those people who do not want to comply with these rules, they just go into the other nodes. That's it. I think that's probably the best solution, but again, there will always be strangers and tourists, as we call it at Burning Man. People who will pass by our nodes and they will not comply with the rules. So we will have to, kind of like weed them out in a way. It's gonna always be like this. I mean, BigCloud is any social network. It reflects the state of mind and the condition of where our society goes. So I think that notes can kind of help us weed it out and like help us to stick to the crowd which we find best for us, but that's about it. I mean, there's as much as you can do.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm sure like you've had these like because you probably have this conversation with a bunch of other VCs and smart founders. I'm just wondering like has anybody like any kind of solutions? Again, this is all obviously hypothetical, but anything you've heard which sounds promising with feed curation?
um, I don't have the right answer to this question because
Hmm.
I'm still
Hmm.
thinking, whether it's good or bad to have these lists, white, gray, and black, because everything has two sides, like two
Yeah.
sides of the coin, two sides of the moon, and I think on the one hand, having these lists helps manage the feed, right? And there's no other way to do that unless it's manual in a way. But then, whether it's manual or their lists, there is the other side where it can actually play as that cancel culture that we are talking about these days.
Yeah.
So basically, let's imagine that we're coming to a node, and we are just not doing anything bad, but we're just expressing our opinion, which may be different from the founders of the node, right? From the group who created that node. And basically, they can just blacklist us. Why? Just because our opinion is different. So here comes cancel culture, right? And it may be on minor topics, but it can be also at a larger scale, right? So I was thinking about that, and I think that from this perspective, we need Yelp for BitCloud, where people, independent people, will be just reviewing the nodes, so that the newcomers would know what to expect in these nodes,
Mm,
right? So there will be obviously radical nodes that will be very intolerant to different opinions. There will be more tolerant nodes where we can actually discuss and like maybe find the truth in this discussion or in this debate. But I think that eventually there is no other way but the public opinion, assessing or reviewing the nodes and expressing, um, describing, I think, what to expect here and there.
makes sense. Um, Kind of keeping it to the Burning Man topic, I'm just curious. Do you think that there could also be like a mashup with the with like in the physical world where you have a Burning Man coin, you buy the tickets in the Burning Man coin, and then you're just trading it over there? Do you think anything like that can happen in the future?
Well, look, we're building a platform that's called now Pay with BigCloud. And the idea is that I just think that we need more liquidity for BigCloud. And it's not necessarily the cash out option, right? The cash out feature. I mean, obviously we want to cash out, but do we need to if we can pay for, I can pay you for your services or you can pay me for my services in BigClouds. And then we can cash out, like, I don't know, in a year, let's say, when BigCloud raises its all-time high, right? So once you have this liquidity of BitCloud, flowing between people, there is no urgency to cash out. So you can actually, wait until BitCloud will grow in value and cash out like 2 years from now. So I see it like
Mm,
that. So from this perspective, definitely, it may be a way to pay for goods and services. And if you ask me, I would hodl on that. So I cannot wait until we launch this platform, and I'm going to definitely sell something that I can, deliver to other people, and I'm going to hold my big clouds until they grow in value.
I love that. Um, I was kind of thinking about this because I was watching or listening to your podcast when you did before, and you were talking about the pay with BigCloud button. At first, I was just kind of thinking about it. I'm like, it's so crazy because if I pay with BigCloud button, like the creator only gets 10%. The assuming that's the founder reward. The buyer example has a option to sell it, but then I realized that like, no, you're right. You can just buy the coin and transfer the like. There's probably a better way, automated way to do that, but you just pay it within the creator coin. So there is no like selling the coin because they're not holding coin, they're paying you in your coin, which
All that.
which I thought was yeah, which I thought was really interesting. So I remember watching listening to the podcast. You were talking about like are you thinking of building an or are you building an Amazon for BigCloud?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear more about that. How's that going, and what are some of the things you're thinking about it?
Well, we are very excited because we're planning to roll it out next week. So,
Love it.
yeah. So we kind of approach this from, as an offline startup. So we started from the back end, and we were trying to develop it in a way so it would work and not lag, you know. And BigCloud was always, we started, I think, a month ago, and we were planning to roll it out sooner, but it didn't happen because we got all these new features, with the authorization and stuff. So we had to adjust as we go, and there will be still a lot of adjustment in the future. So we wanted, to make it as stable as possible in this uncertain environment. And while it was in the works, in the development, we started onboarding different creators as well. So
Love that.
we just approached it from what you actually learned at YC, at Y Combinator, I think. So this is how we approach that too. So I cannot wait, and I think that while I'm very excited about it, I think that the public must judge. So I will wait for what you guys say.
I feel like talking to you. I feel like you're more like founder at heart because you just feel. I can totally see you getting excited about it, and uh, like it's like a young entrepreneur. Like yes, I want to see how people will feel about this. Such a good feeling, though.
Well, look,
Yeah,
the thing is that I'm used to saying that there are three occupations in life that you can never be X at. You can never be an ex entrepreneur. If you are a true entrepreneur, it never goes away. So
true.
that's one of them. The other
Love
two
that.
are spy and psychiatrist. So that's two.
What do you mean by that? Spy insight.
Well, you cannot be an ex spy and you cannot be an ex psychiatrist because that stays with you forever.
That always that makes sense. So example, when you build the platform you're building, Amazon, like let's say example, let's call it Amazon for BitCloud
Yeah,
right now, and um, so like how would the transaction work in the marketplace? Because there is anonymity and pseudo anonymity, right? So there is like this side of um, like the rug pulls and all the stuff that's happening. Like like example with something like with any other kind of platform, they have their Visa, so they can take the money back or whatever, like with PayPal or whatever. So how are you dealing with that issue? I guess.
from the payer perspective or buyer perspective.
For both perspective, how do you say, like how do you make sure that, like example in like case of like let's say like what Sigil is building with BitSwap, right, where they hold it in the escrow, is that something you guys are doing, or how do you guys
Yeah,
go
we
about that?
also decided to stick to the escrow model because it makes
Got it.
sense right now. And also
Yep.
because we don't want to ask anyone's seed phrase. So that's why, from the security perspective, escrow is the best way. Yeah. And that's why, it's very important to really make sure that we have a good standing on the platform image wise because,
Yep.
there's a lot of not very honest people and we want to ensure
Yep.
that, we do nothing wrong that would um, in any way reduce your trust.
I love that. Are you what kind of first few um listings, or what's the first few things you're seeing that will you think that will happen?
You mean what will be listed on the on this marketplace?
Like I'm saying, what's the first kind of first few creators, like who you think what they're going to be selling in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
marketplace, do you think?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that was precisely our plan. So we wanted to
Yeah.
onboard creators with different objects to sell or whatever, just goods and services. We have art, we have physical objects, we have digital objects, whatever it is. We have services. So that was exactly the idea to show the full spectrum of what you can offer on this platform, what you can charge for in BigCloud, and just not to be limited by anything, right? So the only thing that we decided deliberately to not go into is NFT right now, just because it's a little more complex and we want to make it in stages, right? So I think that there's a very high barrier for all NFT platforms, and over time it will become more accessible and more affordable as well. So we are not rushing because there are just people who know NFT better than us. So we just focus on what we know good enough, to present it to the publics. But I think that we will get there.
Yeah.
I think that NFT market will be democratized at some point. But for now, like we work with everything else.
Yeah, I also love that. Like it's gonna, like you said, like it's an MVP. You're starting off with something small, and then you're just building on top of that, right? Which
Yeah,
once you have
exactly.
that
We
proof of
just
concept and stuff.
it's not like exactly an MVP because we try to kind of like check as many points on our list as possible, uh, just to show that this is how much you can do, and that's why it took time for us to develop. But yeah, well, let's see. I mean, I think that probably I don't know how soon you're going to release this video, but maybe it will happen at the same time, or you know.
Well, I can release it the day the right before, like an hour before you're launching the podcast. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, the platform.
we can actually like do something, and maybe like embed the link for first people to access the platform before everyone else's everyone
Yeah,
else accesses it. So we can do that.
I love that. I like how it's also kind of ties into my next question, because I just generally I watched your, or I was looking at your the affiliate sharing thing, dividend sharing thing you did with your book. I think it was genius, by the way. Just because like kind of like you're seeing right now with like what Gary Vee is coming out with the NFT project and stuff like that, and obviously like, I'm in a marketing world, so I've seen a lot of like partnerships. But I really like how you build, how you're bringing the community in, like the people like who follow you, who look up to you, and you're bringing them in, and building it as a way that it's like a part of community, and and it's great because it helps them, it helps you. It's an amazing way to do that. So I love that. Yeah, we should definitely do the affiliate thing. I think it'd be
Well,
cool.
it's actually very good that you mentioned that because I think I haven't discussed it yet, so that would be something exclusive for you. So I tried this dividend sharing model from my book, and I must say that it didn't work quite as I thought it would. So the
Okay.
idea was to engage my coin holders so they would promote the book. But when I actually sent the link for promoting the book to my to my coin holders, the level of engagement was pretty low, which was kind of surprising to me because my assumption was that people are they are interested in my coin value growing and me distributing in big clouds the proceeds from the book sales, right? So that was kind of obvious, but apparently not many people need that. So it's not good or bad. It just means that people probably don't really know what they're doing here, so they just hold my coin just because it's fun. So it's like a game for them. But I think that we will evolve to this, stage when we can actually still work with this model and say, "Hey, look, so you're not just holding my coin because it's just cute thing to do, right? You're holding my coin because you can actually get BitCloud for being my long-term coin holder, right? So here is how." So I think it's just like an early stage. So um, mechanics wise, this model worked. So there were people who just reshared the link, and I could see like spikes of sales of my book once they share the link because that's easily trackable, right?
Mhm.
But not so many people engaged in that activity as I thought. So
See, I can kind of see why, and I'll tell you why I say this, because I did a test as well, where it's a very simple test I did. When the first time I made the account and had my first few coin holders, I sent them like a direct message thanking them, like thank you so much. It will like blah blah blah. Try to build a relationship, and then I checked after a week, 95% of them were gone, right? So I felt like at this particular point right now, it's all speculation, right? Where people are trying to get just like make their money, get out, right? And I'm not even joking. At this point, I've started doing this. I'm like, and this is kind of, I shouldn't say this, but I legit do all the engagement in one day, and then I wait for a week, and then I go because I don't want people to just like. I want people who genuinely, want to build and like help, be support, and not just someone who's like, trying to like make a small amount of money, kind of thing. So I've just stopped caring about them. But I feel like once the community evolves, and once there are people who genuinely, are there for you, or like um, I think then it will be different. That's one part of it, and I think other part of it also is, like I'll be completely honest with you. Like I have a lot of creator friends, like who are YouTube creators, Instagram creators. I haven't been even able to go and tell them like, hey, you should like, but with conviction, you should come and like use this platform right now, because I don't know where like how until everything kind of gets out, right? Like I am like I'm an early adopter. I have fun with these things. Like, I don't care as much, but with my friends, I don't want to like get them burned. I don't want them to put their hard earned money, or even like the entire following they've built over the course of so many years, right? I don't want to be responsible for that right now, right? So the way I think about it is, once the like the once the it gets listed on exchange, once it all that happens, and once the creator tools get built, I think there's not enough creator tools. Like one of my friends is a YouTuber, and there's nothing he can do on the platform right now. If he brings his following, what does he do? Because there's no tools there. So kind of how I think about it, at least at this
well,
point.
yes and no. Like I said, we will evolve to the stage when people will
I agree.
will hold our coins more consciously, and they will have a clear picture of what they want to get from it, right? Not just because it's cute. But on the other hand, I think that we should bring our friends on the platform as soon as possible, just because early adopters always have, this benefit of being early adopters, right? So we were trying to calculate, like how people engage, how new users engage, and it's obvious that those people who, came on the platform first will always be ahead. They will be ahead by the follower count. They will be ahead by the engagement rating, right? So like let's say like Craig and Jake Udell, they have a lot of posts and likes. So when you calculate that, right? So the only fair way to do that, to calculate the rating of a sort, is to actually divide their engagement by the number of days they are present on the platform, which at some point becomes pretty difficult because you have to, like calculate it back a year back, right? So, for instance, let's say we try to come up with a formula that would uh, help new creators surface, and show that they are engaging their audience very well. So let's say if we consider number of posts, number of likes, number of days on the platform, then for instance, Craig engages 6 people per post, same as me, but whaleshark.pro has that number at 12. So he
Wow.
engages twice as many people as me and Craig separately, each of us.
So
So
when you say engages, what does that mean again?
likes or comments. So you just see, so you can count likes, and you can
Oh, I
basically
see what you mean. Like
like,
on average. Got it.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
likes by number of posts, and then also like add the number of days on the platform to the mix, so you can calculate how high the engagement you actually just created. And that's what we did. So it's 6 point something for me, 6 point something for Craig, but it's 12 point something for Whale Shark Pro.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, so one thing I started doing, and it's obviously because I'm spending a lot of time and I want to bring them on the platform. So one thing I started doing is just because I'm a builder, and so what I'm doing now is one thing with my friend where I'm actually trying to understand what his pain points are, like with this, because I understand that YouTubers and Instagram, they have challenges because they don't all the money goes to, like, I'm an advertiser, so I completely understand, kind of counterintuitive, but so I'm trying to like work with them to understand what tools do they need to be able to come on the platform and bring their audience. So the kind of starting point is to actually build a tool and use them as an MVP. And as they're comfortable, okay, I'm happy. Yeah, this works. I want to go and share my audience. Like, I know for a fact that, at least for me, I understand that once one creator sees value, like where they're actually able to make real money and like give real value to their fans, it's going to be a snowball effect, because all the creators, they follow each other. One creator does it and he makes money. A simple example would be, if you think about, in the Instagram world, they have these filters. Like, it's a not a good way to make money, in my opinion. Like, I think there's a better ways to do that. But every Instagram influencer, or sorry, every influencer, like, who's a travel influencer and stuff like that, you will see they all have their filters, right? It's just because one of them did it and they killed it, and then all of them just copy and paste, and they're like, oh, it's an easier way to make money. So I'm kind of thinking from that perspective, where how can we build a tool for a creator and while having the creator on board, like, and they're like, yeah, this is amazing, it makes you money, and then hopefully they go and get everybody else, if that makes sense.
yeah. So well, I think that the change of the founder reward from coins to big clouds was a great one. And I think that
Agree.
basically solves the problem, because now, like, whenever you buy my coin, I get big cloud as my reward, as my commission. So it works both ways. So I feel good because I kind of have um, cash of a sort, right, in BitCloud, and you hold my coins. So thank you for paying me tips, and I will keep growing in value, so you will be satisfied as well, right? So that was a huge one, I think, a huge change. But as for the other tools, yes. So first of all, the discovery is there is no discovery on the platform, right? So there is none. So we were trying to find newcomers, and just pay attention to the diverse newcomers, like people of color, like females, right? And it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. It's all the manual work, and no matter how many formulas we try and algorithms we try to create, it's just they don't work. So that's extremely difficult. So when you try to find to discover some topics that you are specifically interested in, that's a problem too. I mean, hashtags must come as soon as possible, right? So that makes total
Yep.
sense, right? Hashtags, right? I mean,
Great.
I understand that there will be nodes dedicated to this or that topic, but again, within the node, you will still need hashtags, right? So I think that the next huge feature that we need, like ASAP, is hashtags. That's my opinion. And
I,
yep.
I was gonna say I feel like we say it and then tomorrow is gonna be out. This always happens. You say it
Yeah,
and it comes out the next day.
I actually find this is the most amazing thing about the developers behind BitCloud because they actually listen to the feedback. All the things that Y Combinator teaches you, go
Yeah,
out of the building, listen to your customers. I think BitCloud is a great casebook study for exactly
agreed,
that.
100%.
So
Yeah.
that's great. And finally, I just wanted to say that we I forgot what I wanted to say finally about the features. Okay, so let's move on. I will remember later.
If you remember, we can cut it and we can do it. Go
That's
back.
fine. You can keep it like
No, no, that's okay. So talking about like finding people, newcomers, and like like with this new people, like diversifying, or like women. I want to kind of talk about the cryptonauts. How did that come about? And what's the goal there? Like, yeah, I want to understand more about that.
Yeah, well, that was exactly one of the projects that we were working on helping female to get their voices, to get their value on the platform. And, there's a lot to say about this issue. And one of the things that I still have to say, because that's the truth, and not many people, are courageous enough to say that because it doesn't sound good. But
Mm,
nevertheless, there is a top of the funnel issue. There is top of the funnel issue, meaning that we do not have enough women on the top of the funnel to then, say that well, the top creator list, it should be 50-50. No, it can't. Mathematically, it cannot be 50-50 because we do not have 50-50 ratio by gender or sex, however you want to find it,
mhm.
on the platform. We just don't have it.
Yep.
That's it. So, with like obviously we want to more women to be visible on the platform, more people of color to be visible on the platform, but the math, you cannot disregard the math. You just
Yep.
really need to onboard more females and people of color so the math would work in the first place. So that's
Yep.
why when you say, I don't want to onboard my friends, please do. Okay. Because
Yep.
otherwise, it's just really difficult to, find them in the first place and then say, oh, like, okay, well, let's say that. Of course, it's not fair that there are only males on the top creator list, right? Of course, it's not fair that they are not by the engagement levels so much, but by the value of their coin. Why? Because they hold a lot of their own coins. So, for instance, if I invested as much as my own coin, I would be there too. But is that the goal? I think that the top creator list should be like a popular vote based on
Mm,
the popular opinion. Not that I hold the majority of my coins because I have deep pockets and that's why I'm on the creator list. So it's just like, okay, I mean, I know you guys are cool, but what else? And I'm
mm,
not
yeah.
saying that like all Jake and Craig and everyone and Wales Shark.pro and everyone on the list, they bring a lot of value to the platform, but there is no way for the newcomers to get on that list because they
Yep.
lost time you know so these guys, we've been on the platform almost, well, I was almost from the very beginning, they were from the very beginning. It's just really hard to catch up, just really hard.
Mm,
So we
yeah.
need another algorithm for actually, creators to get on that list, not just the coin value, because it doesn't quite reflect, and it's not. It's just, it's a closed environment. There's only one way to get on that list. If you have deep pockets, that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I s-
we need the
yeah.
mechanism that helps people to get on the top creator list, whatever. Just like let it be top 50, not top 10. It doesn't matter. But the algorithm needs to be different. And what I was saying is that like there are 10 positions, right? And all of them are males. So is it mathematically representative? It might. I didn't count because we don't have these numbers by gender, but it might be pretty much representative that like
Yep.
mathematically the top 10 positions will be males just because there are not enough females on the platform.
Because the 90-95% males
So
on the platform. Yeah.
our
Probably. Yeah.
intentions to bring more diversity, yes, of course, but
Mm,
you cannot disregard the math. And
yep.
then understanding this, you need to come up with an algorithm that will take this factor into consideration, but make it a level field to play. So there's like a lot of analytical work that needs to be done on that, on this particular subject, because for now the top creator list does not reflect, the popular vote. This is what I want to say.
Yep. It makes complete sense to me. You're right, because it right now, and even like I would say, even other creators like who are not even on the platform, right? When you see that, it's like it just takes away. It's like a spot that is just basically taken away, right? It could be used for finding new creators, like you said. Like if there was a newer like a newcomer spot or like newcomer feed or something like that, or a more engagement feed or whatever it might be,
Right,
that could
exactly.
really
It
help
should
get find more people.
different
Yeah,
like several different algorithms, right? And I see that people started working on these algorithms, and that's totally, what that makes sense. For instance, like, the with the diamonds, like there was, I posted, I shared it recently, that the ratio of diamonds given to me and the ratio to the number of diamonds that I give to people, right? So for instance, the highest, so like people give me more diamonds that I give back, not because I am greedy, but it just so happens, right? So that makes sense. And there were like, what I liked about that analytics is that it had like three different like charts uh, calculated by three different formulas to show that somewhere I may be number one, but by a different parameter I'm number 10, for instance. And I find that fair. That is fair. So
Hmm.
that's why the top creator list should be several algorithms, several formulas how we calculate that. And there is definitely the top creator list by the value of the coin, and then there should be the
yep,
creator list by the engagement, and then this engagement again, because the early adopters will always be ahead by the engagement, over time. So you need to take into consideration the time frame that they have been on the platform, right? Because
makes sense.
yeah,
Yep,
right. So we need to have like four different lists like that, then it will be representative. But it's just
makes
very
sense.
difficult. I'm
Um,
not saying that it's easy
yep,
and why no one did that. It's difficult. We tried. It's not that easy.
yep. Makes sense.
Another issue is
Do you
that,
think that will?
I'm sorry. Another issue
Sorry,
is
go ahead.
some
No, no,
users,
yeah,
they have random pictures on their profile pics, and you cannot define their just sex based on the profile picture, right? So, and based on their names. So how do you imagine that? Like, what do you message people and ask, hey, who are you? We would like to include you on this diversity list, but we don't know who you are. I mean, this is not how you do things. And why? Well, because they lack confidence to present themselves who they are. They just use these user pics just because they are not sure that their art is worthy. And I encourage everyone to use their real identities, just because how we would know about you if you don't show up? We just need to know about you. Just show us your face, show us your identities, show us your art. We appreciate all the art that is on the platform. We have to do that to encourage artists to show up.
you know what's interesting, by the way, and I totally agree with you because I've been from that mindset of like you need to like even the first tool that I built for the platform was called like a widget where you put that widget on your website, and the idea basically is you're basically showing, and the second version of that widget is basically like you're showing like who's all invested in you, like kind of all about credibility and kind of all about reputation in that way, and you're like invest in me, or like work with me, do business with me because these people invest in me, like I'm a real person, right? And because a lot of times like right now in this culture of like a lot of people create courses and the scam people, there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now, right? But so I am completely on the same page as you. But the other day, and if you want to check it out, I'll send it to you. It was very fascinating to me. I listened to this talk by Balaji on this thing called, I think he did it in San Francisco in last blockchain week, San Francisco 2019 or something. And the talk was the that we're moving towards a pseudo anonymous world. I think it was called the pseudo anonymous economy or something. And that was, I'm like, whoa, that was fascinating to me because he's a very, very smart guy. And I'm like listening to him, I'm like, huh, like this is so not me. Like kind of what he said, like this is not me at all. And I'm like, huh. So like kind of like the Reddit part of it. So not anonymous because that leads to a lot of dark behavior, and then not completely social because a lot of cancel culture. So he was talking about the pseudo anonymous thing, and it was very fascinating to me, and how like that kind of made me think. I'm like, am I thinking from an old standpoint personally? Like, am I not evolving where the world is evolving? This kind of made me think that question, and I don't know the answer to this, obviously. But I do agree with you. As an artist, like I want to push my stuff out. I want to be like, hey, this is me. I made this. Like I'm proud of my work, right?
Exactly.
Even if it's bad, it doesn't matter. But I'm proud of my work, right?
Well,
And
look,
so I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, art is such a thing that it's very seldom that it's really bad because there's a
no
consumer
interpretation.
for different kind of art.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, the black square is a bad one, you know, right? By Malevich, right? So it's just a
Yeah.
black square, for God's sake. But yet
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
genius. So there's that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't think that like an artist should just, assume upfront that his or her art is bad in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So like it will likely find its audience nevertheless. But I like this idea about the anonymity, and I think that blockchain is exactly what will, um, I think, encourage its existence in a way that there will be a tool that will build on blockchain that will help um, review personalities, even if they remain anonymous. And it will be done across different platforms, and it will be even done by ways I don't know how yet. I don't have an answer to that, but
Lewis is one example, or probably even the those two people on the platform right now. I don't know who they are, but
well,
they have a
right.
personality.
But that was a bet, right? So we didn't know if it's a scam or not. So it just so happened,
Hmm.
luckily, that
Got it.
we lucked out that it wasn't a scam, So, but
Right. Right.
how can you prove that otherwise? My point being is that
True.
there will be a way when you can, kind of rate me as, again, as on Yelp, right?
Hmm.
And all the ratings that I collect, like online, whether I am open about my identity or not, it will be somehow collected in one profile, in one avatar. And
Hmm.
if I decide to remain anonymous on some platform, it will pull my rating to my avatar, and it will show people that no matter how I present myself, I have that level of trust. I think that would make sense. I want to remain anonymous, but on the other hand, I also
Yep.
want the audience know that I'm a trusted person, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And I
Yep.
think that's possible with blockchain, and I think that we will get there. Yes.
Makes
So,
sense.
but speaking of this particular case, we want to make this platform diverse, and we want all the voices to be heard. But we cannot do that. It's very hard to do that if we cannot identify people.
Are you guys, as like, as the community of cryptonauts, you guys formed? Are you guys doing something, like? Are you guys working on something that will for to or to help with that?
Uh, that we started with that. We just worked on
Mm.
these formulas until we hit the wall, and it was like, well, we don't know how to do that, but all right,
Yeah.
so we're gonna do that manually. But that is much as we can do for now. We also like
Yeah.
we discussed different charity initiatives, and it wasn't possible with the founder reward set at the coin value. Now it's possible, so we can actually do that with BitCloud. So that's something that we are planning on doing. So there are just some initiatives, but some of them they need, like you said, different tools. So we have to wait until
Mm.
these tools arrive. But
Tools come out.
otherwise,
Yeah.
whatever just tools are available, we will be using them to do different like charity, community development work. We were planning a couple of events offline even, so we can do that as well. So basically, I think
Love
that
that.
it's better than just be one person. Like myself, for instance, there are some female creators who reach out to me, but when it's like eight of us, it's just easier because then like I don't know, at least five times more
Yeah.
creators can
Yeah.
actually reach out to us. So that's why teamwork here actually works in our favor.
Love that. I want to end this with last two questions. One is kind of like just kind of going on this same topic here. So, what's the best way? Like right now, someone like who's let's take a women, or even or like a people of color, someone who just joins the platform right now. What's the best way, do you think, right now for them to grow? What can they do to grow on Big Club?
My answer hasn't changed since day one. The only way to grow is to be consistent in creating value and and engaging with other people. There is no other formula, I think. And I just at some point, I probably had one of the most valuable. No, I had the most valuable coin among female creators at some point, and then BitSwap happened, and everyone fell in value because like people just cashed out, right?
Hmm.
And I was thinking, I was like, well, so it's gonna get even worse because when it it becomes legit. So that's exactly what people are going to do. So what do we do about that? And the
Yep.
thing that I, like the outcome or the conclusion that I came to is basically, look, um, my obligation of a sort, for my coin holders to deliver the value, whether monetary or not. And when they cash out with the profit, it's a good thing. It
Yep.
means that I delivered. So
Hmm.
it shouldn't be bad for me, right?
Oof.
They cashed
Yep.
out, they earned money on, or whatever just they earned on my activity. And that's great. We have to celebrate that. So
Yep.
when they did that, my coin value dropped. Yes, indeed. But other people can purchase my coin to do the same pretty much. So they purchase
Yep.
the coin for a cheaper price. I mean, everybody wins. So when I
Yep.
actually understood that, when I realized that, I thought that, this race for the highest coin value, that's not the goal. We shouldn't be racing, to grow our coin value by the number of money pumped into us, right? Because the funds, they come and go, and when they go for good because your coin holders cash out with the profit. So it's a good thing. So it
Yep.
shouldn't be like a race to the top amount, to your all-time high, especially now with the founder reward change, right? It
Hmm.
actually should be fluid. Like someone
Yep.
cashed out and got some profit, great. Like,
Yep.
there's now a spot for another person to purchase your coin and do the same. So it's like a cycle, and it's good when it works. So this is
I love that.
how I
That's
think
actually the
about it.
same. This kind of same assumption, kind of what I was telling you before, kind of what I thought about it too. Same way is like before, like it was like more like a like why like I would get mad. I'm like what like why would you do that? Why are you trying to make a quick buck? And like I'm trying to like you don't build stuff over like a day. It's like a process, and I would take it personally. But then I was like, you know what? It's good. Actually, it's good that like for me at least, I'm like I would go engage for a couple of days, and then I would just go build a product for a week and not worry about anything else. And then I'm like, you know what? People who will think that it's like it's not growing, they will leave. Perfect. Price will go down, and the people who are genuinely and slowly more people will come, and so on and so forth. And the ones who are trying to do day trading, I'm happy. I get my 10%, right? I'm happy, and it gives me enough to keep on going building. And the people who are genuinely good, who believe in the long term, would hold, and they will hold for long term. And that's kind of it's beautiful, and that will slowly grow rather than a quick bust of like going really high and then coming down.
But it's okay to grow and fall, because it's just a
Yeah.
tool for you to deliver value to the audience. And for some audience, the
Yep.
value that you deliver is an opportunity to cash out from your coin with the profit. That's it.
Yep.
It's a cycle.
Yep.
It's a cycle. And unless I am pumping my own coin with my own funds just to keep it like at all time high, for me, it's a tool to deliver value to some of my coin holders that want to
Yeah, I love
prefer
that.
to cash out. Great, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So it's like with
Yep.
business, you just have a business that you sell at some point, right? And
Yep.
you have a team of founders, but once you sell the business, you're kind of free to go, wherever you want to go. And there's no like sad feelings about that, right? I mean, just bad
Yep.
feelings about that, right? Because
It's like buying Apple stock. Although I love Apple, it's not that I don't believe in the Apple company, but at some point the stock is high, and I want a little bit of money
precisely,
to cash out. And like yeah, exactly.
precisely, the value has been delivered. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So
sense. Yeah, I love that approach. I love that line of thinking. I think that should be in your book again. I really do. I think a lot of people need to learn about that. I think it's a very good way of thinking and not taking it personally and not letting it, I think that was one of your values as well, right? Like at the end of the day, coin value, it doesn't go into like you as a human being, right? It doesn't. They're two things separate.
well, I would say even more than, it's good if your coins are being bought and sold all the time. The more people buy and sell your coins, the more value they see in your coin. Rather than, you just reached it once and everyone is sitting and just looking at you with your, I don't know, 30,000 coin value. And now what? So
Yeah.
nobody buys you
Yeah.
anymore. That's it. So you just reached your all time high. You hit the ceiling. That's it. But when your coin is in circulation, that's the value that you want to actually achieve.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah, it's true. Because after you hit a certain point, no one's buying. Yeah, good
Exactly.
point.
So what? I
Yeah,
mean, when
like
I hit
yeah,
like whatever, just almost 6,000 USD in coin value, nobody was buying me. I was extremely expensive for the majority of people, except for
yeah,
whales. And then I was like, so what? What now? What do I do now? So for me, if your coin is in circulation, that's a good thing.
That makes sense. I love that. Awesome. I want to end this with the last question, and that is, um, what are actually I totally forgot the question I was going to
You
ask
said
you.
that. You said that
Um,
before. The
huh?
previous question was the last one. You said that before.
Oh, I said last two. I said this was the last one. Okay, let me think if I can think about it. But I'll end this right away here. Okay, that's okay. Let's just finish it. Renata, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was beautiful. This was amazing conversation. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me again. And I think that we actually covered two exclusive topics in this talk, so we just really need to stress that.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Hopefully, we'll do this again in a few months and talk about like what all we talked about and has that all been solved or not been solved or what's going on.
Yeah, I think we will have a lot to discuss further.